have received a lot of messages regarding Krishnamurti, and where they want to know whether Krishnamurti is still relevant to us. My short answer is yes, but I say yes with a lot of caution, because there are few things we need to understand. And once we do, then you'll find that Krishnamurti is very liberating. And as everybody is demanding for me to speak in English, I'll try to stick to English on this topic. But before we go deep into this topic, we have to first understand how words are born, what they do to us, and what should we do if the word is lacking. So where do we start? Let's say you're Krishnamurti and you have a spiritual experience, an experience which equips you to speak confidently and with authority on things related to others' belief in their modes and means of experiencing the same thing. But you refuse to have a word for it. You refuse to give an account for it, which means that you can speak with authority, but you have nothing to say or speak about the very thing that gives you this authority. Poets struggle with words, and if a word is lacking and there is something which they want to describe, the choice of word that you use will dictate what meaning is going to come out of it. So the existence of words, specific words, their existence is shrouded in a lot of mystery. And that is why in the West, when you find something new which you don't understand but you want to name it, you refer back to Latin or Greek. Usually you search for a root meaning, and from that root you derive a word. In spirituality, Theosophical Society tried to do the very same thing, but it found itself lacking. So it first reached out to Egypt and Neoplatonic enrichments which occurred there, and finally traced all that to here. तो जो खिचड़ी जो बनी वो इतनी ख़राब थी कि उनके पाले पोसे बड़े किए हुए कृष्णमूर्ति खुद नहीं खा पाए. So let's get back to Krishnamurti. That is, after refusing to eat or swallow this khichdi, absorbed much that was happening in the West, especially Nietzsche, existentialism, and the new consciousness that was arising in the West. But he would do so by avoiding anything Indian, by avoiding the mistakes of those who brought him up. Krishnamurti, Judo Krishnamurti, wanted to Englishize the whole spiritual system, and for it he chose certain English words. Like one of the pet words that he often uses is thought. But thought can be anything. For example, it can be forms created in the mind, that is, various forms appearing to us when we talk, when we describe. I saw this, I heard this, I experienced this. But when you ask, where is all these things happening? You say it's happening in my mind. And then we have to understand what this mind is, where all these images are appearing, the this of this, that is the essence of this and that. And because the West lacked a deep understanding of language, it was always searching for a word like mind, like thought, and so on. So an image in my mind is this, and in Indian system is simply called language. So it can mean a process within language, and that is why in the Indian tradition the poets were considered rishis, seers who saw. They saw the Veda, the word, the this of this, the thing, and from here the enrichment of language started. You see, when the Veda says, lead me from what is dark to light, it means, give me, show me. To show itself means to reveal, to give, to appear in word, to appear in language. In Sanskrit grammar, the whole poetic process is called Murti Vivarth, Kriya Vivarth, and Bhavna Vivarth. So Vivarth here means that whatever is appearing, whatever is showing itself, shining, that is what is it that I am seeing, I am experiencing. So Murti Vivarth means to experience the manifestation consisting of different objects of the world located in space. Kriya Vivarth means to experience the manifestation consisting of action and processes taking place in time. And Bhavna Vivat means to experience the manifestation consisting of cultivating, developing, building, and in the claiming of the pleasurable and pleasing. A poet or a creative person, an artist, is constantly doing these three. And that is why you say the being and thinking, the experiencer and the experience are the same. That is, thinking and being are not different. Now we come back to Krishnamurti again. So if thinking and being are same, what is this being and where is this thinking located? How is this experience being referenced? Krishnamurti has no answer because he is still locked into an Oxford system. That is, his thinking proceeds through its grammatical and referencing system, through which you give an account of your existence, your account of your world, account of your experience. Now, this does not mean that one is denying Krishnamurti's spirituality. Just like when we see a modern art, a circle, a square on a white canvas, basically what that artist is doing, he is denying the past to possess the present. So Michelangelo was inspired by biblical stories. Picasso and others were inspired by the communist revolution. And to express itself, it developed its own unique independent style. Whereas modern art abandons everything. So a toilet seat placed in a particular way in a museum becomes an art, an expression of being, a modern being, not a religious, not a communist, but a simple individual self-expression of what it thinks the true art is. So where does all this lead us? We have to understand that Krishnamurti was born in a British India. Britain ruled all over the world, and the growing power was America. And somewhere down, you see, I think he felt that the Indian system is inferior, that we are still caught in the past, and the new is this world which is unfolding through the English spoken word, through an account that can best express itself through English, a modern English, just like a modernist painter. And we cannot blame him because he was brought up by, English people. And English will always reference back to itself, its own referential totality. So let's say I'm born and brought up in an Indian culture, an Indian civilization, and I use Hindi as my first language. And Hindi will reference to its own referential whole to find a word to where we can use it. So for example, Atman, Brahman, or Atma or Brahma, Vach, Vak, Shabd. So naturally I'll end up using these words which are specific, which reference to a deep referential states. So even though I may use English, I may not abandon these words because I don't find anything equal in English that can express or account for my experience. Now, not only is English different when it comes to very specific words, these are words which are experiential in its content. When one wants to give an account for or speak about the experience of one's own being, and to do so, one accesses or one instantly reaches out for some words, especially specific words like thought, like thinking, like process, mind, so on and so forth. And even when you use the word called existence, to exist, it means very different than, for example, Sanskrit or Hindi, astitva, which does not actually mean identity. But to get its full meaning, one has to combine being, identity, reality, that is shaping and determining my existence. And in the same manner, instead of being, non-being, one would use sat, asat. Even the inner grammar is different. For example, if I say, fetch me that book, and I speak the same thing in Hindi, mujhe wo kitab pakadaiye. So you'll see that the verb and noun structure has reversed. And that's a fundamental quality of English and Hindi and Sanskrit. So fetch me comes first and then comes book. और हिंदी में किताब पहले आता है फिर दीजिए या पकड़ाइए. सो अंग्रेजी में वर्ब पहले आता है फिर नाउन, और हिंदी में पहले नाउन आता है फिर वर्ब. एंड words, object, the signifier and signified, vach and vachak and so on and so forth, they each reference each other. And so it's not very easy to just take the word Atman and replace that with self or soul or spirituality or God. So even the word God carries a lot of load, which references itself back to the Bible. Or in some cases, it references itself back to the Greek experience of their own existence, in which gods show up as something or someone whom they can address, who addresses them and indirectly shapes things around them. So when he uses a word to cancel Ishwar or to cancel Bhagavan or to cancel Prabhu, which are basically substitution of Brahma and Atma. So Shiva is Atma and Parvati is Vach. Allah is Atma and Quran is Vach. So on and so forth. One can keep substituting these to infinity. So Krishnamurti's project rests fundamentally on the fact that whether Western culture and civilization will survive, because his speech, his vak, his grammar is deeply integrated within that referential structure that we call an English world. On the other hand, Krishnamurti will always be alive in the Indian system because his inner thinking remains close to us, which is Vedantic. But this podcast will be incomplete if I don't speak about the dangers, because the West can only reference itself. It lacks the core from which spiritual insights can arise, to arrive at the idea that thinking and being is one, and that we are self-expression of Brahma. In Plato's Republic, we see that the arrival of a foreign goddess, a Devi, and we see that Socrates goes to see it. He wants to know how it affects, what does it do to the Greek. So this is how the Republic starts, and it ends with the concept of reincarnation and the concept of transcendental justice. Those who do bad here will be punished above, and they will be reborn based on what they have done previously. But it's natural to ask that did all this make any difference to the Greek? And his conclusion is absolutely nothing. It does not change us. So to bring about change, Plato wanted to banish all the poets, which means you banish the whole referential structure that had till then shaped the whole of Greece. But what happened is something very different. The civilization collapsed and was replaced by what was happening in the neighborhood.